Welcome back to Week 2 of Prospect Basketball Weekly. I'm your host, Paul Evers. Once again, we are sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings. And I'm here once again with Coach Camardella. Coach, thanks for joining us once again.
It's nice to be back.
So let's go back to the Hershey game from last Friday.
Yep.
Give me some general thoughts on such an exciting game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very intense matchup. You know, it came out first half was very competitive. First quarter, I don't think either team missed a shot. I think it was 24-19 after one. Second, third quarter was good, and then obviously fourth quarter we had some interesting events. But outside of that, I thought it was a pretty competitive game.
And speaking of those interesting events, what was it like those last couple minutes of the fourth quarter?
Yeah, it's a little bit surreal. I think if you ask anybody on my staff or anybody on our bench or close to the bench, you know, it was a crazy string of events. You know, I think there were a few misunderstandings, to be fair, between us and the officials, and unfortunately it's not a court of law, so you're not able to argue your case, and you got to deal with what happens. And you know, I thought Coach Rathe and the rest of the staff did an outstanding job. Our kids did everything they could. We had chances, and as all things that when adversity presents itself, you just push right through.
And then a little bit towards the start of the game, you started with David Swidera in the game, but then eventually Grant Whitebloom kind of started playing with the starters. What was the reasoning behind that switch?
Yeah, I mean, from the first game, we've said we've got 6 or 7 starters. You know, with Grant Whitebloom and Zelmer, you know, those guys play almost equal minutes to the rest. In basketball, you can only start 5. So I've always looked at Grant Whitebloom as, you know, a starter as much as any of the other guards. If you remember last year in the conference championship, you know, he guarded Jimmy Sotos. So it's not, you know, a role that he's not used to. You know, I would say Grant Whitebloom's like the consummate team player. He steps in, you know, provides his energy and his skill where it's needed. I thought he did a great job limiting shots, making shots difficult, and really put our team in a good position.
And then towards the end of the game, I was noticing Antonio Gardner was not playing. And I saw him a little bit after the game, a little bit hobbling a little bit. What's his kind of status? What's going forward?
Yeah, ended up having a broken bone in his foot, and so he'll be on crutches for the next few weeks, and we'll slowly take it from that, and we'll listen to his doctors, and we'll move from there. But it's obviously it's a big blow to our team to not have him. He's one of our captains, one of our emotional leaders, and the next guy's got to be ready to step up.
And obviously, going back to the Palatine game, you did get to take a day off for that one.
Yeah.
How important was it for your team to get back on track with the commanding victory after losing in a very close matchup to Hershey?
Yeah, I mean, we addressed it in practice the day before. You know, Rathe and I see him as like a co-head coach, not an assistant coach. And, you know, like you said, back in 2011 when my second daughter was born, she was born in the middle of the first quarter of her Stevenson game. And so I missed that one and missed the game the following day. And he did a great job covering that. And I have all the faith in the world that if I ever have to miss another game for a myriad of reasons, you know, the rest of the staff will be ready to step up.
And then just kind of from the first 2 games of the season, what do you think have been the big parts of your team that have really shown up?
Well, I think the big thing is that our guys are constantly competing no matter what level of competition is on the floor. You know, you go from playing against the Conants and the Evanstons, and you start moving across into MSL play. Some teams know you very well. Other teams don't know you well at all. So I think it's our guys just learning to adjust to different tempos of play. We'll see that this week with Buffalo Grove, and then next week with Meadows. They play a very different style, and we'll follow it up with the last game before break with Stevenson. We got to go on the road. And so those 3 games, I mean, very different styles, very different types of game plans. And I think that's the best thing our team has going for us is that they adapt to change very well. That's what's going to be needed if we're going to compete in these games.
All right, thank you, Coach. We'll see you later to talk about the Buffalo Grove game. Next up on Prospect Basketball Weekly will be our player interview.
Okay, go ahead.
Now we are back with Prospect Basketball's Michael Ritchie. Michael, it's good to have you.
Good to be here.
All right, so in the first couple games of the season, how do you like define your role for the team?
I think my role is to be a good offensive rebounder and to just be a solid member of the squad. I think a big part of our team this year is everybody knowing what exactly their role, and I think that's been a good part of our team this year.
Okay, so obviously you guys had like a really close game against Hershey. How will you use that game to kind of build off of for the rest of the season?
I think that game's going to be a defining moment this year. I think we're just going to learn off of that, and then that's going to set the tempo for the rest of the season for us.
Okay. So now with like 2 MSL games under your belt, Hershey and Palatine, how's the team preparing for Buffalo Grove?
I think at this point we're ready. We know exactly what we need to do, and I think we're just going to go out there and do it.
Okay. So what will it be important to execute in order to win against Buffalo Grove?
You got to have hands up on all the shooters and got to be in the gaps at the right time. They're a good shooting team, so if we box out and get our hands up, we should be fine.
Okay, so now you guys are kind of approaching the heart of the MSL season. What do you say is like your mindset going into this long stretch of games?
I think going in this long stretch of games, our mindset's going to be to make sure we do the little things right. Especially in the MSL, every game can be close, so the little things are the defining factors.
Okay. So as a senior, you've been on the team since your sophomore year. How do you want to be remembered as a member of the Prospect basketball team?
As a member of Prospect basketball, I probably want to be remembered as the kid who gave it all he had, and probably just leave everything out on the court this year.
Okay, thanks, Michael. And now we'll have our interview with our guest, Coach Rathe.
Thanks.
And now we are joined by Assistant Coach Rathe. Coach Rathe, it's good to have you here.
Good to be here.
So, what was it like having to step in to coach the Palatine game?
It's obviously some different responsibilities, but overall, been coaching here for 10 years, seen a lot of varsity games in my time, and really just wanted to make sure that the guys were comfortable and confident and ready to go. It was pretty seamless. It was also, it was my third varsity game now, so I moved to 2-1, pretty solid record overall. So I feel pretty good about that.
Okay. So what do you think the team did especially well to win that game?
We defended. We pressured their guards. We really took away their opportunities to get inside the lane. I think I didn't count the total, but I think we had 10 or 12 steals up by half court, which in a varsity game is pretty significant for easy baskets on the other end. So I think that was the key to our success in that game.
Okay, so now kind of looking ahead to the rest of the season, how do you describe your role as the assistant coach?
We've kind of Coach Camardella and I have kind of found a way to share a lot of responsibilities. He's a really good guy to work with in that sense that, I'm the assistant coach, but I run a lot of the defensive schemes and plans for the game, who we're guarding, who's guarding who, what we need to do better on defensively, and planning practice and scouting and preparing for the game. It's not going to change. We're going to keep doing what we do.
Okay. So on the Saturday morning JV games, you're the head coach. What would you say the team tries to accomplish during those games?
Sure. We treat those games very seriously. We treat those as opportunities for our younger guys to get some run in and really try and get better. Some teams deal with those games differently. We take them very seriously. A lot of guys have come from a JV role their junior year to play major roles or start their senior year. So we use those as opportunities to get better.
Okay. So now playing BG on Friday, what would you say has been an important message that you're giving the team for that game?
Having a tough loss against Hersey, we're 0-1. We can't afford to go 0-2, and especially in our home opener. So BG has a very capable backcourt, and we know that. They're guys that we've seen before, and we got to play. We got to come out and be ready to go. So I think that our team understands that and hopefully comes out and plays that way.
Okay, thanks, Coach Rathe. And now Coach Camardella will be back to preview Friday's game against Buffalo Grove.
My pleasure.
Welcome back to Prospect Basketball Weekly. I am once again joined by Coach Camardella. Coach, thanks for joining us once again.
Yeah.
So we have now our second MSL East matchup against Buffalo Grove on Friday night. What are you looking for in this game?
Well, the nice part is it'll be our home opener. So we have not yet played a game at Gene Walker Fieldhouse. So we've been away for 7 games. So this will be a nice way to remind ourselves that we do play some games at home. And, we will be featuring our annual Silent Night, which is always a big thing for the fans and for the underground. So for December 9th matchup, Buffalo Grove and Coach Peterson are always well coached and well prepared, so it should be a great showdown tomorrow night.
Then obviously the Silent Night matchup, obviously very interesting start to the game.
Mhm.
I guess just a little bit from past years, what is that experience kind of like, and how do the players usually handle it when basically the whole gym is silent? It's almost like a practice out
Yeah,
there.
it's as a coach, it's hard. As a coach, it's really hard because you want your players to be relaxed and play, but it's quite obvious that there's something different about a quiet start to the game. But like I said, this is a pretty experienced group. They know what they're doing. They've been through it before. We host these every year, the Underground, the Student Council, and they do a great job putting it on and making it fun for the student body here at Prospect, and we're happy to be a part of it.
I know Coach Rathe was talking about the backcourt for Buffalo Grove. What are
Yeah.
you looking for from them?
I mean, they're two of the best offensive players in the East, with Calcagno and Vasilani. They've been starting games. They're really experienced, really been up since they were freshmen and sophomores. So we saw them the other night against Barrington, and like I said, you can't give them much space. And so we'll be doing a great job really talking to each other, trying to limit them. I don't think you're ever really going to stop them, but you just do your best to try and limit them and force tough shots.
Then obviously their great backcourt, but then our backcourt, obviously you got Tony down now.
Yeah.
Not sure about Grant Whitebloom. He was going to be our player guest today, but he's a little under the weather, so not sure about his status for tomorrow night's game. What are you looking forward in your backcourt if those two guys are unable to play?
Yeah, I think if you asked any coach, if you talk to any player, it's you know when you go to practice that the next guy's got to be playing and practicing, ready to step up. And so we'll have some other guys. Tim Lussenhop's been getting some more minutes. He's been doing great, and Mark Gray. The two of them starting to fill in at those backup guard positions. They're going to start to need to get more minutes, especially with tone down, and we'll look to them to help a little bit, and help Frankie and David a little bit in the backcourt.
And then last thoughts. How important is it to get back on a win in the East here versus starting 0-2?
Yeah, it can't happen. Not if you want a chance to win the East. You got to win your games at home. We had a very good record last year at home. So I think it's just a matter of our guys realizing it, not thinking too much. They played extremely well on Friday at Hersey. The middle three quarters were great, and it's just a matter of them focusing in, not thinking too much, just going out and doing their job.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
got
Good luck Friday night.
Thank you.
This has been Week 2 of Prospect Basketball Weekly. I'm your host, Paul Evers, and we will see you next week.